and we're going to use this for the basis of our discussion today. This is what's called, it's hughmckenna.org. If you want to get to it, you just type in www.hughmckenna.org, and it'll take you to this page, which we titled In Search of Hugh. So we just had someone else join. And then looks like Elaine dropped off and joined it again. I'm going to stop my screen sharing for a minute. Okay, so the Robinsons are joining as well, and that's Todd's daughter and her family are on. So welcome. Do you want to say anything, Todd?
Welcome.
Okay, we're grateful for all of you joining. I'll share my screen again. And so this is a website that we developed several years ago. I told Todd that, you know, when I went to Ireland the first time in 2011, Brett was there and Quinn was there, and Brett and Todd were just talking away about all this stuff, and I had no clue what they were talking about. And so set a goal to try to capture in a website as much as I could about what we know about our family. And so that became hughmckenna.org, and we will expose you to it very briefly today, but it's there as a resource to you if you ever need it. We also have a Thomas McKenna Reunion Facebook page, and we also have a McKenna Family History YouTube channel that are referenced in this documentation. It's a way for us to share other things. So I'm going to mute myself, and if I can figure out how to do that, Todd. How do I mute myself when? Okay, got it right here. Yeah, I'm going to mute, and Todd's going to take over and share a few things from this.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now. Richard has done a great job on this website, and he referenced the Facebook page. You'll notice the yellow bar at the top refers to the reunion that's going to be held this next summer. And if you want information on it, if you click on that date right there, it will take you to the Family Search website Facebook page so that you can find out information about that as it is posted. We'll go back now. We have placed 3 documents on the highlights for March 2022, and we are going to discuss those very briefly. When you see this, either on a phone or on your computer, you'll notice that right before the document on the left, right under it, it gives you the date and the type of document it is. You can actually see on the picture that it's Hugh and his family, and Thomas is there as a 10-year-old in 1852. If you click on the picture, it will take you to our box account where we store those documents. And I can remember reading a letter that was written by a researcher that Elaine and Warren and Nana and Papa paid for many years ago, who described finding this census. And I remember reading in the letter that he said, and Elaine may correct me on this, or Richard may correct me, but I thought I remembered him saying, you know, this looks like it could be your family, but I don't think it's your family. We have since determined that we really believe that it is our family. And you'll notice that we have, can you go back to it for a second? Sorry. You'll notice that on this census, it has the mother and father. The mother is 37, the dad is 40. Ellen is 18 years old, Sarah is 17, John is 15, and Thomas is 10. They have James, who is only 1, and Marianne, who is a foundling at age 5. You'll notice Richard is scanning over to the side where it says she's a foundling. Now, as we post these, highlights that have been discovered, we would just encourage you to explore. Look for things that are important, like their profession. Thomas isn't working, but everybody older than him is working as a mill worker. Now, a mill worker would have been working in the linen mills, and but Thomas is not. This will probably raise some questions. You'll notice on the left-hand side, it tells us the street that they were living on. One of the things that we discovered looking at the census was that just a short ways away from Hugh and his family was another McKenna by the name of George. And George and his wife did not have any children at all. And George was a carpenter. But censuses are very important, and we can find a lot from them. We'll let you bring up any questions in a few minutes, but we're going to now go to the second document, if we could. The second document is the second item that we found about this family, and it's the marriage record of Thomas and Sarah and so Richard clicked on it, and it's taking him to box.com, where we have a copy of the marriage record. Thomas and Sarah's names are there and the date that they're getting married. You'll notice under the age, it says full, which means that they were old enough to be married. Usually it was around 21 years old to get married. It has him as a bachelor and her as a spinster, which would have meant that they were not married before this. This was their first marriage. You'll notice the profession. In 52, he was his family was a mill worker, but now he's a carpenter. And one of the neat things about the census was that George living close by was also a carpenter. The witnesses, or the father's names, are Hugh McKenna, and Sarah's father is Robert Singleton. Hugh McKenna was a packer, and Robert Singleton was a farmer. Go down to the witnesses, if you would, Richard, if we can still see them. You'll notice here that they were married in the presence of James McFadden and Ellen Singleton. We believe that Ellen Singleton was the wife of Robert Singleton, but that's their marriage record. Okay. One of the things I would just like to share with you is the man who married them is quite famous. Notice his signature right there, Hugh Hanna. He was called Roaring Hugh, and he would preach fiery sermons, and thousands of people would come to listen to him. He was a very popular preacher. And when Liz and Kathy and I went to Ireland in 2009 in December, Liz was not feeling well, so she stayed at home in the hotel. Kathy and I went to find the Berry Street Presbyterian Church, and we found it, and it was open. There was a man making mincemeat pies for a Christmas celebration, and we looked throughout that. There's the Berry Street Church right there. The church still stands today. It's not an elegant church, but it's in fairly good condition. And as we were talking to him about the church, he told us a couple of things that I thought were interesting. The first was he told us that in the 1860s, when they got married, there would not have been an organ or a piano in the building because music was not a part of their worship service. And then the second thing he said was, if your people got married here in that time period, they would have needed a communion token to be able to participate in that service. And he said, wait for a minute, I'm going to find one for you. And he went around and he found a couple that he gave to us that we have, since we have them in our family, and we have photographs of them in Family Search. And that was all because of, he said, if they were married in Berry Street, they would have had to have this communion token. And Rich and I believe it was very similar to a temple recommend, or a recommend from a bishop for any ordinance. Okay, I will mute myself now so Richard can take you through the next two icons.
Thank you, Todd. Just a couple of things. You know, the doubt that the genealogists expressed about this 1852 census has since been refuted. The doubt has been refuted because we now have descendants of John and descendants of James that we have DNA connections with. Okay, and they show their tree going back through John to Hugh with the brother Thomas, back through James with the father Hugh. And so we have DNA evidence that this family connection is solid. And there's all kinds of other records, trust me, there's all kinds of other records that we've been able to pull together that show that. Yeah, but yeah, without that 1852 census, we wouldn't have known where to start looking. So we're very grateful for the effort that was done back in the 1950s and 60s to gather these records, these three records that we're talking about right here: the marriage of Thomas and Sarah, the 1852 census, and they also discovered that Hugh and Mary are buried in the Belfast City Cemetery. So the third document is this one here. This is the burial record of Hugh being buried. We have Cammie and Paul Nelson coming in right now. I'm just admitting them. So I'm waiting for this record to come up. Well, let me go back to here then. It should come up when you click on it. Okay, here we go. It's coming up now. I think it's coming up. Okay. Anyway, so what we learn here is that this is John McKenna. He was living at 112 Malvern Street. He was 70 years old. He died of general debility. And anyway, he died in 1880. And the owner of the burial plot where he lived was John McKenna. And John McKenna was his son, the same John that was over here in the census. John ran a painting business in town at 70 King Street. And so anyway, that was who bought the burial ground for them. You also have here religion. And just so all of you know, the McKennas in County Tyrone, where they came from, are 99.3% Catholic. In fact, in the 1901 census, long after we were gone, but you can pick up what was your religion, and there was only one family in all of County Tyrone that were McKennas that were not Roman Catholic. And so for McKennas in Belfast to be Episcopalian is the same as Church of Ireland, same as Anglican. And so they declared in their burial record that they were Episcopalian, which further confirms that this is our family. Almost all of the births were christened. All the babies were christened in the Church of Ireland, and almost all of the marriages were done in the Church of Ireland. So the genealogist discovered the burial in 1880 of Hugh, and later his wife Mary died in 1898. And there are, in that grave, there are 5 people buried on top of each other, including their daughter Sarah, who died. Well, you don't bury them if they don't die. So their daughter Sarah, who died, and she had never married. And then 2 of their grandchildren are also buried there. They happen to be John's grandchildren, and Hugh and Mary's great-grandchildren. But anyway, they're all buried there together. But guess what? There is no headstone. And we had known that. We had visited the spot. We've taken pictures of their grave, but there is no headstone. So as many of you know, last summer at the reunion, we had an auction, And it was very, very well supported, but with both donations and purchases. And we were able to raise almost $3,500. It maybe was even over $3,500 in that range, specifically with the purpose of buying a headstone for Hugh and Mary and their other three who are buried there. And we had enough money then that their son John, who bought the burial plot for them, does not have a headstone. His wife is Elizabeth Shanks McKenna, and they are buried maybe 100 yards from where Hugh and Mary are buried, and they don't have a headstone. They did buy a small headstone for their 25-year-old son John, who died and is buried there. But we had enough money from that fundraiser last August at the reunion to buy 2 headstones. And they have been ordered. Elaine reported earlier in this meeting that she and Kathy have an appointment to wire the money to the monument company this coming week. They went and tried last week, and not everything worked out. So they'll go this week to pay for those headstones. We have scheduled a headstone memorial ceremony that will be on May 21st of this year in the Belfast City Cemetery. There's a small group of us right now. It's Wendy and me, John, Janelle, and Everett, who are going to be able to go. There are others who thought they might be able to go. We're still hoping that Sarah and her 2 daughters will be able to go, but she has some work conflict that may not make that possible. But at least 5 of us will be there. We've also identified 5 or 6, I can't remember, 5 or 6 families that still live in Belfast. These are descendants of John and James. Those 2 brothers stayed in Ireland, and they have living relatives that we've been able to identify through DNA connection. And our intent is to, within the next week or 2, reach out to them, let them know what we are doing on May 21st, and ask if they would like to join us. These would be 4th cousins to us, to me, 4th cousins to me. There'd be 3rd cousins to Elaine. There'd be 2nd cousins to Maureen, I believe. And but we would be able to then connect with them. We plan to video the ceremony with both for both graves, both Hugh and Mary's grave and John and Elizabeth's graves. Janelle is going to be our videographer for that, and we will post it on the McKenna Family History YouTube channel, so that and it'll be available for a long time, that others will be able to watch that. We hope to be able to get some information from these families who are still in Ireland as to what they know about the relatives who are closer to them than they are to us. Liz was able to connect to a couple in England. Their names are Phil and Sue Dutson, who are descendants of John. And they have told us things about John that have been very helpful for us to, better understand and appreciate the family connections. And so we hope as we gather in the cemetery that there will be some more of those connections that we're able to establish. Looking at their family trees, we have more information than they have, and particularly, information that came to light recently with the letter that Thomas's cousin John wrote, and I won't say anything more about that. So that's what we taught. I'm going to turn the time to you. Go ahead.
We hope that has been helpful, and that if you have any questions, you'll bring them up right now. We'll take a few minutes for questions. And then what we want to do is discuss how to move forward with this. The 4th area there on the side where it says explore more. Richard's going to show you what that means in just a moment. But our hope tonight was just to present the beginnings. This is where we started. And obviously, we've learned so much more since then. But I'm just curious, does anyone have a question? Now, I know in a group like this, it may be difficult for you to decide the questions. So I may just ask you individually, unless someone wants to raise their hand or unmute themselves right now. In fact, Richard, why don't you stop sharing the screen for a moment so we can see everybody? There you go. So let's start with Janelle, since this was at your request, Janelle. I know you may not be able to use your audio, but we can see the chat if you want to give us any questions in the chat. Do you have any questions from what we presented? Okay, we'll keep watching the chat, Janelle, to see if you post anything. Let's go through the rest of the families. Maureen, did you have any questions from what we just showed you?
Not that I can think of right now. I'm just learning more all the time. Some of these things I have read and then have forgotten, but it's nice to review all of the things. Whatever you have to show is always interesting again.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. Kyle, how about you and your family? Do you have anything that you wanted to ask about? We'll take that as a no. Robinsons, do you have a question about anything we presented?
No, I think we're good. Thanks, though.
Okay,
It's kinda
very
interesting.
good. Kyle responded, no questions from his end. Nielsen's, how about you? Any questions from you? Nelson's, sorry.
Not, what, you have a question?
Hey, how do we get this girl to Ireland with you? That's my question.
I gotta start doing more work. I have my journal from Todd. Thank you, Todd. I still have it, but I need to
I
fill it
think,
up.
yeah, those were created by Kathy. They've done it twice now. Excellent journals.
Have it. Yeah, it's been my family history journal strictly. No questions really.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, we were
Janelle,
late.
what was that?
Sorry, we were late.
Hey, we're just glad you're here. Janelle made this comment. This is a great jumping off point for me. I knew very little before. This is all fascinating and I can't wait to see it in person. Janelle, I'm glad you're going to be taking the video of this. It'll be a great event. Elaine, did you have any questions from what we presented? You're the one who paid for those original researchers.
No,
Maureen?
and I can hardly, I'm having a difficult time hearing you, but I can.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine. Okay.
I'm just grateful for all that you and Rich have done and my kids did, and so that we can have this information to learn.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is, and I thank you all for
amazing.
it.
And thank you for paving the way for us. And Maureen, I apologize if that you also helped pay for those. That's wonderful.
Can I
It's
say
our
something?
pleasure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Elaine.
We've had a lot of people donate to it, and it's just, you know, when we first started doing headstones here in the United States for some of the McKennas that didn't have headstones, and it just brings a lot of joy into your life.
Yeah, it really does. And I don't know if without your example and the example of Nana and Papa and Warren and all those others on both sides of the family
And
Doyle. Yeah. I'm just grateful for that because it got us off to a good start. Smiths, did you have any questions you wanted to ask at this point?
No questions. I'm just grateful when Rich says that he knew nothing when he first went to Ireland. There's hope for me. Because when Rich talks at our meetings, I have no idea what he's talking about. So I'm hopeful.
And Margaret, that is one of the cautions that we have, because we do know that, like, Richard spends every waking moment doing this. And so we tried to just limit it to 3 documents this time. And in a few moments, we'll have a discussion about what to do next, because we could literally share 3 documents every month for 10 years and be just fine. But we don't know if that's what is required. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Give it some thought. All Reds, do you have, Brett and Zell and Adam, do you guys have any questions you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, Todd, real quick, I was trying to get onto hughmckenna.org and it's coming up as, anyway, it's not, the page isn't loading up.
Type in www.hughmckenna.org and see if that helps you. And Adam, remind me your wife's name.
Jamie.
Jamie, I apologize for forgetting. Pretty soon we will be across the street from you, and I promise I will try to remember.
Or a few minutes, so not a problem.
Okay, Brett, did that help you get in?
Got it.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'll turn the time back over to Richard. Oh, Maureen. Yeah, I think Maureen made some comments. So yeah.
Oh, I'd already made my comments.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. So just briefly, I'm going to share my screen again and talk about that 4th item on the opening menu. You can see this front page of hughmckenna.org doesn't have a lot on it. We wanted to keep it very simple, and we want to keep kind of the highlights as we go along. So these are highlights for March of 2022. And we'll talk about, totally a brief discussion on where we want to go from here. But this one here that says explore more basically introduces the rest of the website. So I'm just going to read this first paragraph. This website is intended to document what we have discovered about our Irish ancestors, specifically the McKenna Singleton ancestry. We invite you to familiarize yourself with the content and explore it as deeply as you have interest. We also invite you to contribute your own ideas and research. You'll see that there's a lot of holes. We'd love to know more about, for example, Thomas and Sarah's son, George. And I have a bunch of newspaper articles that I've found on that, and I'll probably document something on George as we go along. But anyway, the other key piece is that we have family trees that can be accessed at ancestry.com. By clicking on that link, you will have a ancestry family tree called Hugh McKenna Descendancy that you can explore. It has source documentation with it, just like the tree has in Family Search. Both of these websites, ancestry.com and Family Search, require sign-in, and the sign-in for Family Search is free. And if you remember the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which all of you are, and you have a Family Search account, you can also get a free Ancestry account. So the keywords there to get your free Ancestry account is partner access, and you can get a free Ancestry account. So if you don't have it already, Todd or I are willing to walk you through what it would take to get a free Ancestry account or a Family Search account. Now, we have then detailed pages, and this just summarizes the different sections. We have places of interest in Ireland, okay? And these are places within what we call McKenna country, and also in Belfast, including some walking tours that take you past where we lived when we were in Ireland, and then also where we lived in County Tyrone and County Armagh. The Singletons were in Mullabrock. So I'm not going to go through each of them, but you can feel free to explore. You'll see in the ancestry histories, you can go to this one on Thomas Hugh McKenna. You'll see we've done a lot of, none of our ancestors wrote history. So we have to look at source documents, relationships that they had, and other things that were going on during their lives. You could call it fictionalized, but it's fictionalized with source documentation. It really is trying to, just lay out the facts of what they would have been living with. And this historic events, oh, I need to change this. Basically, this is 1810 through 1900 of events that were going on in Ireland. Fascinated what was going on. We've written a history about Ellen McKenna Glass, which was their oldest daughter, and Hugh McKenna. I fully expect that we have enough information now to write up a bunch about John McKenna, James McKenna, even Sarah McKenna, and we're welcoming anyone who wants to take that on. So anyway, again, you go down through and including our future plans. Our future plans, this then talks about the headstone ceremony on May 21st, 2022 at noon, and what's going on and who we still need to honor. I really believe that even after these two headstones, we need to get a headstone for James McKenna, which is one of Thomas's brothers, and his wife, Catherine Doyle McKenna. And then also Sarah Singleton's mom is buried here without a headstone. So that's another, for me, a third great grandparent, sorry, who is without a headstone. So yes, please.
So for her, you said that she doesn't have a headstone. Do we plan on getting one in the future as well?
Yes, the intent would be in this next family reunion to do another fundraiser and order a headstone for Ellen. Is that what your question was, Brett?
No, Adam, but yes.
Adam, okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, the intent is to do that. So anyway, just the Explore More will lead you to these, as well as the menu up here basically leads you through the same bullet points. And there's a lot of content. Todd will crucify me for taking another minute, but this section on maps, I don't know if you remember, Brett, when we were there, you seemed to know Belfast like the back of your hand. And that was because you had this set of maps that were all printed out. They were larger than 8.5 by 11. Well, in fact, I'll go here first. Through the Griffiths valuation, there's a map of Belfast in 1860. And we have provided that here in the research section. So you can go in and you can say, okay, here's what the city looked like when they first arrived. Here's where they would have lived. You can zoom in, you can see that it's not terribly detailed, but when they lived on Albert Street Place, that was right here, and it was right here in these apartments, and they were very small, congested apartments that you would enter from Albert Street through an archway, and there were doors on either side. Tiny, tiny, tiny apartments, okay? And here was Galway Street right over here, and here was Killen Street where George lived, okay? And then the other one, and this is the sheets that you had, Brett, that I think had been purchased in the first visit in 2009. We took and scanned those and laid them over the historic map. So if we didn't have the sheets, you can see the individual sheets, then we put the other map behind it. And so you can actually zoom in, and it's much clearer. And from this, we were able to find, again, here is Galway Street, here's Killen Street, here's Albert Street Place. This Willie Place, it basically became, Albert Street Place became Wiley Place. But anyway, so those resources are available. And there's also this map that shows where all, well, not all, we still need to add to it, but it's the addresses where they lived in Belfast. And if you click on any one of them, for example, you click over here on this one, the orange ones are about Hugh, and this is Galway Street. This is where Hugh and Mary lived in the 1860 Griffiths valuation. Anyway, all of them have kind of the detail as to what went on at that spot. That's far further than we wanted to go today, but it introduces you to some of the content that's available on this website. And if you have any questions about what any of it means, just let me know. Go ahead, Todd. I'm going to go back to you and mute myself.
You know, when we get together and people have done research, it's really hard to slow down the flow. And you just saw Richard's excitement for can you go ahead and close your screen? But what we've done here is we've given you 3 examples of documents, and then we've given you a key to get into all the rest of it. But I would like to now ask a question. We've done this today, and we've tried to keep it to 45 minutes. We're right about at that time period now. The question would be, how often do you want to do this? And so I think Richard and I would like to propose that it be done on a regular basis, but perhaps not monthly. I'm kind of leaning towards quarterly, but we are open to your suggestions. It's because Rich and I don't need to do this for ourselves. We will gladly do this if it will help. And so the question would be, how often would you like to have this done? What we will do is whenever we do it, we will videotape it and put it on the, Janelle says quarterly would be great. It will always be videotaped and put on the YouTube channel. We'll always send out a notice, a reminder that we're going to do it. And everything that is put on the website, like for example, the 3 documents that we highlighted today in March of 2022, those highlights will be archived, so you can always go back and look at them afterwards. Does anybody else want to make a comment as to the frequency besides Janelle? Okay, the Nielsen's, good. Quarterly also?
Quarterly is good for me.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Elaine.
Quarterly is good for me.
Okay, it looks like quarterly it is, so we'll go ahead and continue to do that. Now, one of the second questions that we wanted to add about that is, when we find new things, would it be helpful if we did an email newsletter type thing in addition to this, or should we just restrict ourselves to this meeting and the videos and the website? Rich, did you want to make any comments about that request? Yeah. Would you like a newsletter or an email type response when new discoveries are made?
It's gonna be daily.
Okay, some of you've raised your hand. Okay, why don't we just indicate that if you would like an email update, that you send that request to Richard, and then we will create an update that will be sent out to those who've made the request. Yeah, we could do it by text or email. Okay, so we just want to thank you all for your interest. Okay, Janelle has a question about Hugh's parents. The question is, do we know Hugh's parents, correct? Yes, we now know who Hugh's parents are. And Janelle, do you want us to tell us who they are right now? No, because we could make that the first. Yeah, okay. Richard, why don't you take over from there, and then we'll close.
Okay, thank you, Todd. I think we're done, and we'll close with prayer. And I'm going to ask Wendy to say that. Just a hint: if you want to know whose parents are, if you look under the current research tab of HughMcKenna.org, the new discovery that is dated April 2021 talks about the letter that Aunt Elaine was able to find in the materials that Nana and Papa, or Gibbon Almeida, left with her. And that has led to a discovery not only of Hugh's brother Samuel and 100 of his descendants, but also led to the discovery of Samuel and Hugh's mother and father. So, okay, Wendy, will you close with prayer?
Sure. There was one comment from Margaret.
Sure. Okay. Oh,
One quick thought, Sherry, go ahead. Tammy?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I don't want to take more time, but I have to share one thought. And I'm on the very beginning of my family history journey in terms of the work from where you guys are to where I'm beginning. But the spirit of Elijah is strong and well. And I shared this with Rich and Wendy yesterday, but I don't think it's a coincidence. And I was in Florida on a business trip with our company. There's 2,000 people there from our company from all around the world. And there were 2 people from Ireland there. And it's a large gathering, you can imagine. And I happened to sit down at lunch randomly on a table next to the 2 people from Ireland in the entire place. At the same time that Rich and Wendy and Todd, your family, were at the, what is it called? The Ireland Memorial there?
Yeah, Irish Famine Memorial. Yeah.
Yeah. And I to me, I just felt the spirit of that moment. I learned about him. I told him all about our family from what I knew. I was texting Rich and Wendy at the time, tell me about, you know, their family and when they left. And anyways, for me, it was just, thank you for doing this. I think that's a connection and we're excited.
Great testimony of the spirit of Elijah. Thank you, Paul. Hey, Wendy's, anything else from anyone?